is the system broken? Ichiro didn't get all of the votes. Now, somebody made an interesting comment, and I can sort of see it, although I don't agree with it. But let me play devil's advocate for a second. If you are a voter and you know that Ichiro is going to get in first ballot, and there is a guy, because you can only vote for 10 guys on your ballot, and there's a guy, let's say a guy that we talked about, Dustin Pedroia, that you think should be on the ballot a little longer just so he gets his props.
Absolutely.
If the guy says, you know what, I'm just going to give that Ichiro vote that I would have given to Dustin Pedroia to keep him on a little longer, is that the worst thing in the world?
No. And that's the accountability. That's the conversation we have to have. And there has to be some groundwork here to have that conversation, because there's 394 votes, right? He got 393. That's too many votes. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. And again, I went on X and put a big
and I want you to bring
out there.
Bring that up. Bring up your Twitter. I want to go through those points one by one, because I didn't get to look at them. I saw them. I saw that you tweeted it, but I didn't really do a deep dive because I figured we'll talk about it on the show today. So what you had, I believe, 7 different points that you wanted to make on the Hall of Fame.
Yes, and I would have kept going if there was I was trying to come up with it as I was doing some other things. I'm like, God, there's probably a million different things I'd say here, and I'd love to have this conversation first and then do it. But the very first thing, there's too many votes. 394 votes is too many. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. Again, I think it dilutes who's voting. It doesn't get enough of the people who truly know the game. I don't think 10 years is enough to prove that you know the game. You're stuck in a region. You're stuck writing for X newspaper, and you're only seeing Y players coming through. I think you need to extend that to 15 years. So you really get to see what a Hall of Fame career is. 10 years isn't enough to see enough Hall of Fame players to understand what a Hall of Fame career is. So that's the first thing. Again, there's too many votes. I think we need to take what?
I like that. Now, how do you take it back? How do you minimize it?
You minimize it by, one, scrubbing it all. Start from zero. Okay, let's start from scratch.
Okay.
Every major league city, so like New York, you get 2 major league cities with 2 teams.
Every major league team, let's say.
Every major league team, but it could be a city, right? City or region, right? Because the Rockies are kind of a region. They have a panel of 5 people, 5, 6, whatever you want to do. You create a board. So the Dodgers create a board, the Angels create a board, Rockies, yada, yada, yada. Those 5, 6 people choose who their 5 votes are. Okay, they choose who 5 people in their region, in their team that represents their area, who understand what it means to vote for the Hall of Fame, what it means to see a Hall of Fame player, what it means to be a Hall of Fame person, et cetera, et cetera. Right? They go by the same standards that the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Writers Association of America has. But they choose who those 5 people are, because Vin Scully never had a vote in his life. Joe Buck doesn't get to vote. Buster Bowley, or Buster might have a vote. I don't know.
Buster, I'm pretty sure does.
But a lot of these people are just on TV. They have no votes. But yet those are like Harry Carey when he was around. We're looking at up in Milwaukee. Who was it? Oh my God, Bob Uecker. These are, if anybody knows what it's like to be around Hall of Famers, to watch them every single day, to scold them when they're not doing well, to praise them when they're doing great. Like, they know what it means to be a Hall of Famer, and they don't get these votes. They don't have a say in it. But if Milwaukee's group of 5, their board believes that Bob Uecker knows what it means to be a Hall of Famer, then he gets their vote.
Right.
Instead of just saying, hey, the beat writer for the Brewers knows what it means to be a Hall of Famer because he is a beat writer for 10 years. A lot of respect to beat writers. Nothing against beat writers.
No, they work hard.
Again, too many cooks in the kitchen. Let's eliminate that, and then let's give those votes to people who maybe have a better idea of what it means to truly be a Hall of Famer. So you end up with 5 votes for every major league city. So you're looking at 30 cities, right? So you're looking at 150 votes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that right math?
Yeah,
that math right on the spot. Nice. Okay.
Good.
Then there's still the Joe Bucks of the world. There's those people that they've seen baseball their whole life. They're
Bob Costas.
Bob Costas. Oh my God, Bob Costas. Like Bob Costas, who you might not like him in New York. A lot of Mets fans don't like him.
He's Greek.
Bob freaking Costas knows what it means to be a baseball player. Hey, I'm going to say this, like Billy Crystal knows what it means to see a Hall of Famer. Like, I'm not saying it could be anybody. It could be a fan. It doesn't have to be an announcer. It could be somebody who's just, I know, I've seen it. I've been on the field every single day of my life. I know what it is.
How about this?
20 to,
how about the
20.
fact that Harold Reynolds, who played
Yes.
with a whole bunch of Hall of Famers, who is one of the guys on MLB Network radio, MLB Network television that everybody knows, doesn't have a vote?
No.
How does Harold not have a vote for the Hall of Fame and a guy who's a beat writer for the Tampa Bay Rays does?
Just because they know they've lived half a baseball life compared to Harold. They've seen a quarter of the players to Harold, but yet they get a vote.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that person doesn't deserve it, but I'm saying there's people that deserve it probably more or understand what it means more.
Yeah. The Hall of Famers should have a vote.
Well, that's what I'm going to get to. You need some national votes. So what I say is like you give 20 to 40, whatever that number is, whatever you're comfortable with, 30 national votes, and you have another board. Maybe that Hall of Fame actually puts it together, and those are national votes. Okay. Maybe it's a commissioner. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's whoever they deem is worthy of those national votes. Okay. Now, so now you're looking at 170-ish votes, 180 votes. Hall of Famers. There's nobody that knows what it means to be a Hall of Famer more than Hall of Famers. They don't have votes. You're telling me that like Nolan Ryan, who faced like 5% of all major league batters who ever play this game, or 10% or something like that, he struck out like 10% of all major league hitters who ever played this game, doesn't get a Hall of Fame vote. Dude, let alone he's an owner. I mean, it's just what that dude has seen and been through, and what he understands what it means to be a Hall of Famer. He understands what Hall of Fame mentality. Like, he was telling the story of like, who was it that he was saying? I think he was telling a story where he threw a ball up and into a Griffey and tried to knock him down or something like that. And then like he's at third base and you realize like this dude's not moving, or Sheffield or something like that. And like you realize like he had said something like that dude is different. And so Hall of Famers need votes. They need to represent the Hall of Fame. They are what the Hall of Fame is. They also need votes.
Absolutely. You're telling me that a writer who covers the Cincinnati Reds is more qualified to vote for the Hall of Fame than Griffey and Cal Ripken?
That's my thing about it, is like, and again, that doesn't mean the writer for the Cincinnati Reds doesn't know what a Hall of Famer is. Doesn't know what I'm still not, that dude might get a vote too. Like if in Cincinnati, they might say, dude, you're the guy, but you got to earn it now. You have to really earn it, and not earn it by just showing up. To me, that's a varsity letter jacket, or that's a little prize when Little League you're saying, hey, you're on the team, yay. Like, it doesn't, the qualification is just having a job for 10 years is literally the qualification. And so that, to me, it's just not tight enough. I don't think when they originally built the Hall of Fame, this is what they thought it was going to be. I don't think they thought there was going to be 394 votes. I think thought it was going to be a smaller group, smaller baseball writers. They didn't think there was going to be 30 teams. They didn't see it that far advanced, but we're still living in 1940 lifestyle. More on this. I think you definitely need to make it a Hall of Fame weekend again. You need to make it a Hall of Fame, an actual event. Build a real baseball stadium out there. That the Doubleday Field is wonderful. The history behind it, cool, but it's not a major league facility. They need to have a major league facility and like at least one major league game this year. How cool would it be if the Mariners and the Yankees were playing, like, for a game? Because you could easily do it. You make the team run through New York, make the team run through the Mets or the Yankees, and have them come up for the series for one game, go back the next day, whatever it is. You could do even multiple games, that I get the revenue issues there and all that stuff. But you make it the whole event. You do the game during the day, and then you bring out the stuff and you do the ceremony right there. You'd have a lot more people in the stands. A lot more people could see the whole Hall of Fame, everything about it. And then you make it a true event.
I like where you're going with this, but logistically it's a nightmare, because who's going to pay for that stadium? Because the stadium's going to cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. Who's going to pay the freight? You're going to divide it amongst the teams, and then you're never going to get your money back because you're not going to hold enough events over there to justify that cost.
But they did it in Iowa. They're doing it in other cities. You can make stadiums that aren't hundreds of millions of dollars. You can make you can very easily do a very good stadium for a couple, like for like $10 million, $15 million. And it's a drop in the bucket for Major League Baseball, and it gets more people to the event. You sell the tickets, dude. Like there are places that they've done this where they built the temporary stadiums, and they're amazing. And like that Iowa game, when the Field of Dreams game, is ridiculous, and the amount of publicity it gets. We just don't make the Hall of Fame ceremony enough of a national thing on that day. A lot of times it sneaks up to you and go, oh, they had that today? Like it's not like it should be one game by itself, the night game, or everybody sees it and they know that's what it's there for.
Well, they're estimating 100,000 fans this year for Ichiro's induction.
100,000?
Yeah, they said that they had 80,000 a couple of years ago, and they're saying because of the contingent of Japanese people that are going to come over, it should be about 100,000 people.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. Now, that's cool. Now, okay, so I got a couple other things. So right now we're looking at this. We're looking at the ballot results. Perfect. Thank you for throwing that up there. When you get elected into the Hall of Fame, once you're past the 70, it's 75%, right?
Yeah.
Once you're past 75%, we should never see what the percentage is. We should never know. We don't need to know, because that's the problem, is we're always going to sit here and go, well, Billy got 82%. That makes him less of a Hall of Famer than Ichiro, who got 99.7. And Ichiro, though, got less than Mariano. So he's not, Mariano's the only 100%. No, dude, the moment you're in and the moment you pass the 75% threshold, no blank, you're just a Hall of Famer. Everybody below that, though, you need to see the percentages so you understand their growth, their progression, or their regression in some cases. And so voters can understand that. We can look at that and have that debate. But once you're in, dude, you're a Hall of Famer. That's the problem, though, is we're putting these people on levels. Like, you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, screw that, man. You're a Hall of Famer. I don't care what ballot you are. You're a Hall of Famer. I get it. The first ballot means a little different. Like, you're a surefire, like, no nonsense. Everybody thinks you're a Hall of Famer. But, dude, you're in. And so we're always looking at these comparisons, which ballot you got in or what percentage you are. Like, look at 82.5, 88, 86.8. You're telling me, like, to me, that means nothing. Yeah. They're just a Hall of Famer. So let's keep it there.
No, I'm with you with that. I have no problem there. I think that's a good idea. And quite frankly, it's garbage anyway, because Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, they didn't get in 100%. So what does it matter?
Right? And they had way less voters because they probably pissed somebody off.
Like, a couple of people didn't vote for Griffey. That doesn't make any damn sense. So
doesn't make any damn sense. And so that, to me, those are the changes I would make. And again, it's not perfect, but something needs to change. And it's why I think it will never change, because the Baseball Writers Association of America never wants to give up their grip on what it means for them to represent what the Hall of Fame is.
Yeah.
I think the Hall of Fame could probably take this away and revamp it themselves, but they won't do it either, because it's a symbiosis that they don't want to lose within each other. Something needs to change, though, because like this wasn't even that controversial of a year. But when we're having people turn in blank ballots and screwing people over because they want to do some political like thing, or they just disagree with the steroid era. Ooh, like, good for you. Like, you really, while you were voting for them in the MVP races and the Cy Young races, and you're giving them all the awards that you hate, now you're standing up for it. But you didn't write any articles back then. You didn't call Bonds a steroid user back in 1998. You didn't stand out. You wanted your job.
Yeah.
And now you're going to stand up for it when it's okay to bash them. That, to me, is a problem.
Yeah, that one writer who didn't vote for Ichiro, he's still holding a grudge since World War II. His grandfather was in Pearl Harbor. I mean, just crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, you mentioned it. I want to go through really quick. You talked about CC versus Kurt Schilling, and I honestly believe that if Kurt Schilling retired today, he would be in the Hall of Fame, because we kind of went through that weird political time where the left hated the right and the right hated the left. Now it seems like hopefully things are calming down a little bit. I hope, I pray. But yeah, you look at the numbers, Kurt Schilling's a Hall of Famer every day of the week. And he's already said that he doesn't care if he ever gets in, but I'm sure he does.
No, you still care. I get it, but he's been jaded at this point. You end up like hating life, and you hate the voters and all that. And Kurt said a lot of things about the Hall of Fame voters, about writers in general that are negative. And he said a lot of really stupid stuff. But the last time I looked, like, you don't have to be liked to be a Hall of Famer. And that's the problem too. Is like you get these voters with these political motives, or motives because, like, oh man, I don't like what he had to say. He had bad things to say about the writers, so we're gonna like vote him out of the Hall of Fame. Like that's their way to be able to stab him and get him, and it worked to some degree. But you're holding out on the one great power that you bestowed upon you, which is to follow certain rules and vote them in the Hall of Fame because you didn't like him or you didn't like some things he said. I mean, there's dudes in there that are way worse human beings. And he's, and like, you voted CC Sabathia as the first ballot Hall of Famer. Kurt Schilling blows him out on almost every single category except for wins, innings pitched, and games. That's it. And that's it. So, but again, on games, like, what if Kurt had as many games? He would be killing. Statistically, he would be destroying probably CC on some of these categories if he just had more games. He had 130 less games. 130 less games, but he only had like 30 less wins or 40 less wins.
Crazy.
Like, some of these numbers, you're sitting there going like, geez, like ERA is like significantly different. ERA plus, strikeouts. He had more strikeouts than him. He had in 130 less games. Like that's 300 less innings, and he had more strikeouts. And you're sitting there going like, way less walks, way less walk percentage. And he had a couple championships. He had 3. Like there's things that he did that are incredible. And again, the one thing people want to throw against him, he doesn't have Cy Youngs. Okay, I get it. But his best years, his teammate was some of the greatest years all time of a pitcher, like Randy Johnson. And he would have been Cy Young 2 years in a row if it weren't for Randy Johnson just being insane.
Oh, yeah. And then he had to pitch with Pedro as well.
Yeah.
So, all right. Plenty of Hall of Fame talk. Definitely, if you are a fan of the Hall of Fame, if you like the system, if you hate the system, make sure you go on the comments. Let us know what you think. You can also tweet us at the DA53 on X or Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it.